me take you somewhere, and there's something new. Why English is welcome so good. It's Diction Avenue, Diction Avenue. This is a word where English language is taught, the official language that everyone needs to learn. Set it right pronunciation and use the right intonation. So express yourself. It's Diction Avenue, Diction Avenue.
Okay, wake up to the world with vision. They say a nation get perished without the vision. In Diction Avenue, we got a mission, vision to build tomorrow's future. Speak with good English is our culture. We got qualified teachers, good facilities to build confidence in our students. Don't be told, come witness a treasure you can't measure. Welcome to the world.
And there's something new. Why English is welcome so good. It's Diction Avenue, Diction Avenue.
I say good evening and welcome to today's edition of Diction Avenue, the program where you learn how to speak right, and sound English. My name is Abigail and I'm about your host on the show for today. And as usual, what we usually do on the Avenue every week is teach you something new about the English language, and today is not going to be an exception. We're going to learn about loud and faint parts of words, continuing with our conversation over the past couple of weeks. Well, a couple of things have happened with the English language this week. If you were on Twitter, you would have seen a viral video of a young girl who learned how to say the names of her fruits and vegetables correctly, and she shared the correct pronunciation. And well, some liked it, some didn't, but that was a viral video and it was an interesting one. But it did open up a conversation as to whether it is important or not to learn how to pronounce English words correctly. Also, there was this video that also surfaced of some Americans learning to speak Yoruba, and they were speaking it in an American accent. Of course, it further opened up the debate as to right pronunciation and accent when it comes to speaking any language at all. So, on which side of the divide do you fall? Do you fall on the divide of those who say English is not my language, so I don't need to put in any effort with pronunciation? Or are you in the divide of those who say, well, I think we should actually do something about our pronunciation and try to speak right, sound right? Well, you would already know where Diction Avenue falls in this conversation. Our goal is to help you speak right, sound right, and sound English. And in pursuit of that goal today, we have a question for you. Usual on the program, we start with a question of the day. And then after the question of the day, we go right on to discuss our topic for the day. And I must mention that today on the Avenue, we'll be having a return of the pupils who make presentations. So we're having a pupil or two from Duke Hall Schools who will be making presentation on the Avenue today. Of course, we'll be having stories that teach, and we are going to be learning about a cockerel and see what we can learn from this cockerel today. But then we're going to start off with our question of the day. So if you have your phones ready, this is a part of the program that you can be part of. And I'm sure that question will be up in a bit. And our question of the day has to do with the correct stress pattern. And our question is, which of these options shows the correct stress pattern for the word? which shows the correct stress pattern for the word. Is it A? Is it B? Is it C? Or is it D? What do you think? Which shows the correct stress pattern for the word A, B, C, or D? Well, send your answer, the correct answer, to the number 0805-584-9525. Again, the number is 0805-584-9525. And then we will be able to tell whether your answer is correct or not. That's the number to text on your screen. So please go ahead and send in your correct answer to that question. And then we go right on, we move right on to our topic for today. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the program, we're going to be talking about loud and faint parts of words. Now, when we discuss the topic loud and faint parts of words, we're talking about the phenomenon where in the English language, some parts of words are said out loud while some are not. Some parts of words are said out loud and others are not said out loud. They are faint. And when we talk about loud and faint part of words, perhaps in your classes, you may have heard the term word stress. So that's basically what we are discussing, word stress. How do you go about saying English words? And word stress is directly related to your pronunciation. How do you pronounce English words so that you give the correct loudness, the correct stress, loudness, prominence to one syllable or more in a word while not giving the same prominence to other syllables in the same word? So this is how you achieve pronouncing words correctly in English. You say one part of the word out loud and clear, whereas the other parts of the word are not said so loud or so clear. So you barely hear them. So some parts of the word you hear loud and clear, and other parts of the word not so loud, not so clear. So we say they are faint. I'm sure that when you're using, when you're talking to someone, some of the things that they say you will hear loud and clear, and when you do not hear others, you may actually tell them, I really can't hear you. Could you speak a little louder? Or it's so faint, the sound is faint, so I can hear it. So when we're speaking, saying words in English, some syllables are said out loud while others are not said out loud. So English words are generally divided into syllables. So every word in English has at least one syllable. Some have more than one syllable, of course, but the syllables, their divisions, will determine how you will say the word or not. So you can, one part of the word is said out loud and others are faint. And there is a mark, which is the accent mark. In your dictionary, you will see that mark. It's just like a line at placed before the syllable. So when you see that line at the top, it tells you that the syllable is said loud. If you see the line at the bottom, it stands for a secondary stress. And when you do not see the line at all, it means that that syllable is not given any kind of stress at all. So there are two different accents, the high set accent and the low set accent mark, which indicates the higher level of stress or more loudness and less loudness. And then when there is no accent mark at all, then it means that that syllable should not be stressed. We're going to look at some word examples which would help us determine how this works and what words are stressed. Well, let's look at one word example. We'll look at the word butterfly. If you look into your dictionary now and you check on the word butterfly, you'll find that the very first syllable has the accent mark, which tells you that the very first syllable is the one that is said out loud. Ba, you say that out loud. The next syllable is not said out loud, and the final syllable is not said out loud either. So you place your emphasis on the first syllable of the word and not on the other syllables. Well, that's just one example of how to apply word stress when you're speaking. We are going to take other word examples, but I'm going to stop at this point and go back to our question of the day so you could take a look at that question. And the question has to do with word stress. And the question was, which of the options shows the correct stress pattern? And when you look at that question, you will notice that the stress pattern are indicated differently in each of the words. Is it on the first syllable, as in A? Is it on the third syllable, as in B? Is it on the first and last syllable, as in C? Or is it in the second and last syllable and second and penultimate, not second to the last, penultimate syllable, as in D? So which is correct? Is it A, B, C, or D? Of course, I'm not pronouncing the word, because once I do that, I've given you the answer to the question. So please do send your answer to that question to the number 0805 584-9525, bearing in mind all that we've talked about when it comes to loud and faint parts of words. We're going to take a short break now, and when we return, we'll have the pupils from Duke Hall School who are going to be talking to us about word stress. That's what their presentation is going to be about. So let's take this break now, and then we'll be right back.
ecom.ng, 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 ecom.ng.
Your Speaking English website, powered by Institute of Certified Communicators. Visit www.ecom.ng and subscribe for your spoken English updates now. Your accent is your asset.
ecom.ng, 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 ecom.ng.
Your Speaking English website, powered by Institute of Certified Communicators. Visit www.ecom.ng and subscribe for your spoken English updates now. Your accent is your asset.
Belly the Cockerel. Belly the Cockerel was proud and arrogant. He considered himself the chef de jardin and thought of himself as more important than all the other birds in the yard. After all, he would say, I sound the call to wake up each morning. If I do not crow, then you lazy bones won't be up in time, and the farmer would be angry, and you'll all have a bad day. I'm a king. He would bully Mother Hen and her chicks as they searched for grains in the sand. Even Jenny the Duck and her ducklings were not spared. He would chase after the pigeons and scare them away. The other birds did not like his attitude and always stayed out of his way. One day, the farmer's wife came into the farm to pick fresh eggs for breakfast. She said a cheerful hello to all the birds and gently whispered to the hens, Thanks for being so generous and kind and for sharing your eggs with us. As she moved out of the barn, Belly the Cockerel flew at her in rage, wanting to draw attention to himself. But it made her jump in fright. She tripped, fell, scraped her knee, and broke all the eggs. When the farmer came out to see what had happened, he was so angry and immediately decided that Belly the Cockerel should be slaughtered for the noon meal. Belly was shocked. He never imagined this would ever happen to him. The farmer's wife reminded her husband of Belly's importance, how he crowed every morning to wake up everyone. But the farmer said, "There's a new cock in the yard. He should start crowing soon." What did you learn from this story?
The end.
ecom.ng, 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 ecom.ng.
Your Speaking English website, powered by Institute of Certified Communicators. Visit www.ecom.ng and subscribe for your spoken English updates now. Your accent is your asset.
Welcome back. And there you learned about the cockerel, a cockerel that was very proud, and it didn't end up very well for him. And so we've learned from that story that we should not be that proud. We shouldn't be show-offs. And I'm sure that neither Christopher nor Winsome want to be like the cockerel. Do you want to be like the cockerel who showed off? No. What about you? No. None of them want to be like the cockerel. Christopher definitely. But something that you're going to do is that you're going to show us something today. You're not going to be a show-off, but you're going to show something, isn't it, Christopher? Yes. All right, so what are you going to talk about today, Christopher? Let me just say quickly that Christopher is going to start off the presentation and Winsome is going to end. Yes? All right, so Christopher, what are you talking about today?
I'm going to be talking about loud and faint passive words.
All right, loud and faint passive words. Go right ahead.
Speak right, speak right. Speak the English the world understands. My spoken English, 5.2, Unit 1. Loud and faint passive words. Today we're going to be talking about loud and faint passive words. Every word in English is made up of parts. Some are loud and some are faint. The last part of word is said clearly by saying the consonant and vowel sound in it. We drop the vowel when we want to say the faint part of words. The part that is said out loud is said clearly by saying the consonant and vowel sound in it. Depending on the number of syllables a word has. If a word has just one syllable, it can be said out loud or faint, depending on the type of word it is. If it has 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5 syllables, one syllable will be said out loud while the others will be faint. Is it possible to tell which syllable will be said out loud and which syllable will be faint?
Yes, just as it is possible to follow a map when driving. The accent mark. The signs in our dictionary, accent mark. The phoneticians tell us that there are 3 accent marks. The high set accent mark, the low set accent mark, and the 0 accent mark. Those 3 accent marks determine the way a word should be said. The high and the low accent mark are said the same way. So for the purpose of clarity, we describe them as the loud accent mark. The 0 accent mark is described as the faint accent mark. We are going to concentrate on those 2 accent marks. The loud accent mark. The loud accent mark is referred to as the primary stress mark. It shows the loud parts of words. It is usually written before a syllable and should be said out loud and clear. The second, the 0 accent mark. The 0 accent mark is described as the syllable S that is said faintly. It is said in a way that is hardly heard. Most times, the 0 accent mark is gotten from the schwa, O. It is said faintly. Now, let us go to our word of examples and see some examples of words with the loud or the faint accent mark. Thank you for joining us on our word of examples. Here we have some word examples of the loud and the faint accent mark. Remember, when you see the schwa, the word should be said in the faint part. Here are some examples. Nation,
Motion,
audience,
consider,
influence,
father,
victor,
doctor,
neighbor,
labor,
Thank you.
And thank you. I liked the word examples that you gave. I like the synergy. You could see me going this way and that way. Okay, who's going to speak next? Thank you very much for that presentation and for making it very clear that we have two accent marks that we should pay attention to. The one that goes loud and faint, and the one that goes loud and the one that goes faint. And for making it very clear that the primary and secondary accent mark are both said out the same way, whereas the other is faint and not said out loud. And I like the word examples you use: nation, doctor, further. Great examples. And with those examples in mind, we want to go back to our question of the day. And our question of today has to do with the accent marks, and it has to do with correct stress pattern. And that is the question of the day, with a question: which of these options shows the correct stress pattern for the word? And that's the word you're looking at there, which I am not going to pronounce, but I can tell you the meaning of the word. It has something to do with someone who takes care of birds. So how is that word pronounced? Is it A, B, C, or D? And today on the Avenue, we did talk about birds. We looked at names of birds. Remember that our stories that teach was on the cockerel. And we are going to take some other word examples that contain names of birds. But before we do that, we are going to take one more break before we come back to look at the phone lines. And this time, we're going to look at bird sayings. You may have heard these sayings and wondered to yourself, what are these sayings about? Well, they are about birds. Have you heard people say, he's thin as a rail? Well, some people do say that being thin as a rail refers to a bird, because there's a bird called a rail, and they wonder, is that a rail? Is that the rail? Well, that's not the rail, but then a rail is a bird. You also have happy as a lark. A lark is also a kind of bird. So if you were to make comparison and you were talking about the word happy, you could use the figure, the phrase or the saying, happy as a lark. And that would make your writing look different from what other people write, because not many people use that. So that's happy as a lark. That's a bird saying. And you should learn to use some of the sayings when you are writing. Well, let's look at the phone lines now and see what has come in with regards to the answer to the question that we put out today. Remember, our question was on which of these is correct. Which is correct? Well, we have Chigozie from Lagos who sent in an answer. Sorry, Chigozie, your answer is wrong, but thank you for sending in the answer. We also have Daniel from Ikorodu. Daniel from Ikorodu. Wrong answer too. Well, thank you for sending in your answer, Daniel. Then we have OK. Fortune. Okay, you didn't tell us where you were texting us from, but you have the correct answer. Well done. Thank you very much for your answer. Okay. We are actually running out of time. Let me see if I can take one or two more answers. This is someone with no name. Well, I can't take that. And that is just about how much we can take on the Avenue today. We started off talking about word stress. We looked at stress patterns, and we said that when you are pronouncing words, that there are parts of a word that are said out loud, and there are parts of words that are said faint. So when you're pronouncing words, you should be careful that you use the right pattern, and that is what will determine whether your pronunciation will be correct or not. So you don't end up going doctor instead of doctor, or you end up saying butterfly instead of butterfly. So the stress pattern placing the stress correctly or saying the loud part of the word correctly and the faint part correctly is what will determine that your pronunciation comes out clearly and easy for people to understand. Remember, we do not aim to confuse people when we speak, we aim to communicate. And so when we want to communicate in English, we should use the right patterns, the right pronunciation patterns when we speak. And that's how we come to the end of the Avenue today. I have to say thank you to Christopher. Christopher is going to give us a smile. Aha, finally. And then Winsome for coming in from Duke Hall School and making your presentation on loud and faint parts of words today. Next week is another date to keep with us, and we'll have 2 students from another school and they'll be making presentations. So until we come your way again next week, my name is Abigail Anaba. Thanks for watching.
Let me take you somewhere, and there's something new. Why English is spoken so good. It's Diction Avenue, Diction Avenue. This is a word where English language is taught, the official language that everyone needs to learn. Set the right pronunciation and use the right intonation. So express yourself. It's Diction Avenue, Diction Avenue.
Okay, wake up to the world with vision. They say nation get perished without the vision. In Diction Avenue, we got the mission, vision to build tomorrow's future. Speak with good English is our culture. We got qualified teachers, good facilities to build confidence in our students. Don't be told, come witness it, treasure you can't measure. Welcome to the world.
And there's something new.